All right, in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to make website banners using the LucidPress tool, which is sort of an extension of Google Drive, so it's convenient. Here's one that I've already made. This is a completed banner. You'll notice it's got 3 pictures. And one of the things we try to do with the banner is make it, if you can, try to make it sort of tell a story. So in this case, we got the team huddled up. We have a player looking like she's ready for a pass. And then we have a player taking a shot. Now, that's not a real story. I mean, she's at the foul line. I imagine that's a different moment than this moment, but it's enough to tell kind of, it makes sense as a visual arc. We tend to read left to right, so our eyes tend to move that way too. The other thing is the sizes of these pictures are, I'm not splitting the screen in half. It looks like it's close to half, but it's actually not. These numbers of these 2 squares, the big square here and here, are based on the golden ratio, which is a mathematical ratio that often is found in architecture and other places. So I have some numbers based on the golden ratio I try to use to put things where they go. And this is pretty easy to do in LucidPress. When you're done, you can either export the file to Google Drive, or maybe simpler, just download it as a PNG or a JPEG. You're going to use a PNG if you have any borders that need to be transparent. I mean, any padding that needs to be transparent. Otherwise, just go ahead and use JPEG if it's solid. It's a little bit more efficient. Choose screen resolution, or else it'll download a huge file. We want this to be the size that we have specified up in the corner here, where it says 890 by 300. So now I'm going to make a second document, and I'll show you here's my folder of images on my computer that I'll be uploading. One thing sometimes happens, you get from the photographer, like this image, if we look at this, came with some fading effect around the corners. I think the photographer thought that would be nice to put the focus on the huddle. But when you put that into a banner, it looks really bad because the fading doesn't relate to the other pictures. So a picture like this is pretty much unusable to us unless we can crop it in such a way that we lose that fade effect. But whenever you're working with photographers, we really don't want them doing a lot of work. We don't want any effects. We don't want any writing on the pictures. We ideally don't want any fades or anything like that, which just gets in our way. We can do those effects later. Okay. So if you've used LucidPress before, you probably know it mainly as a print layout software, but it actually it can work for screen layouts. So when you create a new document, you got to click the little drop-down arrow next to document. Of course, now it's going to be slow. Come on, LucidPress. There we go. And we want to go to, normally it starts at for print, and it has all these print templates. You want to go down to for tablet, mobile, or PC, which will give you digital templates. And you don't need any of these templates. You're just going to go blank digital document. And that's going to give you some options that are helpful for specifying a digital template like this. So when this loads, we're going to specify the size of the banner. All banners on our website right now are 890 by 300, which is wider than any picture. It's a much wider ratio. Photographers like to take, most cameras take a 2:3 ratio. So obviously this is a ratio like this is much bigger. There we go. And here you see actually the same layout I just had. This is the golden ratio layout, not for this one. All right, great. So the first thing you're going to do is under document, which says size and orientation, you are going to specify a custom size. Make this zoom a little easier to read. Okay, custom size, and you're going to do it in pixels, not in inches. And you want it to be 890 by 300 pixels. Okay. So we can see it. So that's the size of a banner. Depending on your pictures, you're going to get different sizes of images that fit there. And I have a handy guide to picture sizes, which I'll happily share with anybody who is doing this work, depending on how many pictures you've got. So for 2 pictures, here's two of them that are based on different ways of thinking about the golden ratio. Um, Obviously, if it's, and then here I lay them all out. So if it's one picture, 890 by 300, two pictures, you've got these two options. Three pictures, we've got some more options, um, and then here's our options for four pictures. And then finally, I've got if you're really dedicated to if you have pictures you can't crop, I've got what to do with pictures you can't crop on the bottom. All right, so let's look at these boys' pictures. I noticed this one looks nice and big. It involves two players and some action. Um, and then these other ones are mostly vertical. So I'm probably going to go with one of these two action shots, this guy or this guy, and then two vertical. In fact, I could make two banners using these pictures because I can go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Pictures don't tell a great story, so um, that might be a challenge, but we'll work on it. Okay, so now I go into images and I upload the images in question. In this case, I'm going to middle school. Here's the boys. Beautiful. So I take this guy. Let's see. Actually, I'll just upload them all. I don't really want that team picture because of the fade. There we go. I'm going to upload those. That's going to take a minute to come up. Okay, so once the pictures are loaded, now they're loaded, I can pick the ones I want for an image. I guess one thing that's a little bit challenging, I've got people moving in different directions. So I can, in fact, use that, or I could potentially reverse them. I'm going to see something like this might tell a story here. So if I start with this kiddo, I've got an idea. The kid throws it in from the, he looks like he's ready to pass. Maybe that kid grabs it, and then we'll go to the kid running. Another shot. This kid looks like he's driving for the hoop. All right, so let's imagine I can use these three. These come in. So I'm going to now look at my pixel sizes. So I know what to do. Let's try the 485 and then 200s roughly. So this guy, when you're in image here on this tab, if you go over to layout, you can pick the exact sizes you want. So for example, if I want the width to be 485 and the height to be 300. Now the beautiful thing about LucidPress is it never distorts the image unless you really force it to. What it does is it crops the image for you. A lot of programs distort it, which is terrible. So this is good, and you can change this cropping later, but you can see what that would look like. And now we can move. This one is going to be 202 by 300, and we can also position it. I know it's going to be at the Y0, which means at the top. And I know I'm going to want it 202 pixels over, or 203 pixels over, because the other one's going to be 203 wide. So that's pretty nice. And then this guy, I can say width 203 by 300. I can drag it into place, but I can just say here 0, 0, and it goes exactly where I want it. So this kind of tells a story. I don't know if I love it. I don't love the way the colors of the court change a little bit. But we'll say it's an acceptable banner. It's not beautiful. Now, if you want to change the cropping, I will show you how to do that in just a moment. Okay, so you've got some advanced options. Layout, again, makes it super easy. If you know the image sizes exactly in the math, you just enter them here, and they go where you want them. This kid's shoe is just at the edge. Sometimes the image will get distorted. You'll change your mind on how you want the image to look. So this one, it's pretty good, but I think it might be able to be better. So you can click on the crop button to change basically what part of the image shows in that box. So here, you can now see actually this image was pretty darn close to that size. So I had an easy time of it. Sometimes the image is much different and you're choosing um, exactly what part of the box you want. It did pretty well by centering. I'm probably going to move it up a little bit so we have a little more sense of the action of him moving. We're not cutting off any heads that way, so that's fine with me. So I'm just going to move it up a little bit like that. Get a little more of the line in. Now, the thing that's a little confusing, it's not obvious how to get out of here. You hit return. So, you click into this area and then hit return. There we go. And now I appear to be done. I've messed up. Sometimes when you use that crop tool, you can leave a white bar. You can accidentally basically not get the whole image. See that white bar? But what I did is, now the image, the line goes there, but the image is cropped such that it doesn't actually fit in the box. I made that mistake. So they don't make it easy, do they? I can move the image back and forth like this. Now, I guess if I remember my math, I had a 202 and a 203, so I want this at 405. I can remember the X position that I want the actual image at, and that should do it. Yeah, no more white line. Unselect it. Beautiful. Nice and clean. So that did the job. By the way, I'm zooming by using Control and the scrolling gesture on my trackpad, or a scroll bar on a mouse, a scroll button. You can zoom in and out. Give this guy a name. We always name our files with the year. And then if you want the month, I use dashes between. I never put spaces in the banner names because it makes it hard to put it on the web. And then what it is. So this is, what group is this? JV. Oops. JV boys. I probably should specify it's middle school. MS JV boys. Basketball. That's a fine name for it. So this file you could share with me. You can make my life even easier if you go ahead and download it. Or there is an export to Google Drive tool, although I seem to never be able to figure out where it is. One gotcha in download. Even though we've said this is 890 by 300 pixels, if you put it in print resolution, it's going to make it much bigger because it thinks you're, I don't know why, it just will. So you want to say screen resolution, which is for standard computer, which will respect that and give you an image that's actually the right size for our web page. And I forgot to click JPEG. You pick PDF if it's got a transparency. If you've got the any padding in between, which I can show you in another tutorial how to do. So JPEG and screen resolution, download. It's going to generate that file, download it. And this time, beautiful. I have a picture. You'll see it's pretty small. Our web page, I have a high resolution screen, so that's how our web page looks on our screen. It's still, wow, that image does not look great. I may just have to live with it. I can go back and see why. No, it doesn't make any sense. This image has got plenty of pixels. It's just maybe just a little bit out of focus. But that's okay. It's going to be small. I think no one's going to notice. We get the basic idea. Boys are actively playing. This kid looks like he might score. All right, so that's the tutorial for using LucidPress to make very simple web banners. Again, the key things are when you grab an image, if you go to the Layout tab, you can position it exactly using X and Y coordinates and give it a width and a height. So if you remember, for example, this is 202 pixels wide, this is 203 pixels wide, that means this one goes at 405 X value, right? It's going to move over 405 pixels. And you can choose the width and height just by typing them in there. Super convenient. And then the other trick is you can always change the cropping. So if you click crop, you'll see how the image fits. In this case, sometimes the image is sort of exactly the right size. I didn't show you, you can actually resize as well. If you grab the blue bar, you can make this image bigger. So if I wanted more of this kid, for example, and if I didn't want that coach to be part of the image, I can resize like that. And for the most part, our web banners are quite small, so we're not going to mind. You're not going to get into trouble making them too big. If you're using print, if you're making print, you have to care a lot. Oops, I just did that wrong. You have to care much more about resolutions. You have to be very careful with them, but here you don't. So here, I could just blow these up a little bit to focus. I don't want to cut off the referee's head, so I'm going to shrink it a little more. There we go. Hit return. So that might look a little bit nicer. These are a little bit more blown up than here. I'll download this one again. JPEG screen resolution. Happy. And then again, this file is what you would need to give to me to put on the website, and we would be done. And we can probably see, yeah, there it is, them a little smaller. There it is. Just a little blown up, so you could decide which one you like better. I think it looks better, a little closer up. All right, I hope this is clear. Feel free to email me with any questions. Yeah, it's nice LucidPress came along. This is actually a much nicer tool than what we've used in the past. That's it for this tutorial.